I've been a blacksmith armorer for over 30 years. Pirates of the Caribbean, Sora, LATHE. I've created weapons for over 200 feature films. This is Man-at-Arms. I looked up online to see what the actual lengths would be on this, and I think the Keyblade comes out to about 36 inches long overall. We blew it up from an image we found online, printed it out on some thin paper. That thin paper really doesn't work for me as a template to transfer it from, so I just took some thicker cardstock and glued it to there with a spray adhesive. The ward, or the little key kind of crown on the end, will be made out of 1075 steel. Next, I'm cutting out the ward on the bandsaw. Cutting out the handle out of 1/2 inch 6061 aluminum because we can weld 6061 as opposed to the 7075 we use on a lot of our stunt weapons. Put the 1/2 inch aluminum plate onto the vertical milling machine and milled out the interior cutout. Then we use the bandsaw to cut out the exterior of the Keyblade handle. We're dynafiling the interior to get the shape right. But sometimes it just comes down, you have to do it by hand and just take hand files. We're cutting the aluminum sections of the handle on the bandsaw before turning them on the lathe. I use this alloy because it's more readily weldable. When I TIG weld it together, it's going to hold up. But if I use the normal alloy I use, which is 7075, the welds would break. Sanded the exterior sections of the hilt of the 1/2 inch thick plate on the belt grinder. I did a rough layout with my pattern to see how everything was looking, and it looked fine. I cut a piece of Delrin, chucked it up in the lathe, and drilled a hole through the center for the grip. I took some embossed leather and barge cemented it over the Delrin grip and dyed it black with some leather dye. I like using Delrin high-density plastic for the handles. It's very strong. I also use it for mallets for forming metal. Keyblade doesn't look like it would have any sharp edges, but we're finding a way to make it dangerous. After I'm done with this Keyblade, it's going to be a real weapon. We took the chromoly tube, milled a slot into it to accommodate the ward. After everything was ground to shape, I TIG welded the sides up. It was a good weld. It looks pretty damn good. After I've got everything welded together and cleaned up, I put it into the furnace and brought it up to 1550 degrees, piercing out Mickey's head out of nickel silver. When I took the blade out of the heat treating kiln at 1500 degrees and quenched it in oil, there was a small crack in there and some oil seeped into the tube. And this is one of the hazards of working with this material. After tempering the blade, I take it to slack belt grinder and smooth out the edges to 320 grit. Keyblade is not known for being a sharp cutting weapon, but I'm known for making sharp cutting weapons, so I'm going to put sharp edges all over this piece. I'm grinding the round disc on a 10-inch belt grinder to weld onto the end of the tube. After we've got a good fit and finish on the pieces, we take it to the anodizer for coloring. We anodized the hilt for the Kingdom's Heart blade gold and blue. The anodizing is actually a process that makes it as hard as a ruby on the surface. I was surprised how well this turned out. This came out really nice.
Tony!
Thanks for watching Man-at-Arms. Be sure to subscribe. Tell me in the comments what weapon you'd like to see next.